Hey everyone, today we're descending down into the Uncanny Valley. That and more today on Tiny Voices. Noire is without a doubt still one of the leading facial capture hallmarks in the industry. Team Bondi built stunning proprietary technology to capture their actors' faces and performances, and the results are detailed down to the slightest creases in the performers' foreheads. But the result is often contrasted with stiff bodies and a feeling like a lively face has been just pasted over a head like some kind of horrific face-off scenario. It can give the game a sometimes eerie feeling, and the reason for this is that Noire rests firmly in the Uncanny Valley, despite the bleeding-edge technology that went into making it. In 1970, a Japanese robotics expert, Masahiro Mori, coined the phrase Bukimi no Tani, or Valley of Eeriness, to describe a problem he was running into in the creation of his robots. What Mori found was that when he gave his robots some human characteristics, people thought that they were charming, but as he gave them more detailed expressions and faces, and brought them even closer to lifelike, he found that they took on a creepy quality. The technology and aesthetic design he was pioneering was clearly impressive, but it was off-putting. 8 years later, a Polish writer by the name of Jadzia Reichart coined the most popular English translation of Mori's Bukimi no Tani. She called it the Uncanny Valley. On one side, you have robots, or CG renders, devoid of any human qualities whatsoever. And these aren't very appealing. When you start to give them some stylized human features, they become increasingly more appealing, until they're a little bit too human. When something is approaching photorealistic but is still marred by subtle idiosyncrasies not normally exhibited in real human faces, we tend to find them creepy. It's not until those imperfections are ironed out and the face is completely photorealistic both in detail and movement and animation that we go back to finding it appealing again. That dip between cute stylized simulacrums like BB from The Force Awakens and perfect renditions of human faces is the Uncanny Valley. We as a species have evolved to pay particular attention to faces, and we're quite good at knowing when things feel just slightly off. We're also more inclined to give more leeway to stylized caricatures and less inclined to find subtle deviations in what a human face looks like palatable if the face in question is supposed to be more lifelike. And the reason we know this is because the Uncanny Valley has not just been a topic of discussion for roboticists, but also psychological research. In particular, one experiment rendered 18 versions of a CGI human face based on an actual face. These 18 versions ranged from very simple and low detail to highly detailed models with a large number of polygons to achieve photorealism. Participants in the experiment were asked to arrange facial details to either make the 3D faces more palatable or more eerie. It was comparatively difficult for participants to make something unpalatable by tweaking, for instance, the amount of separation between the eyes. That is, using the lower detailed models anyway. On the other hand, by making the eyes of the photorealistic models just slightly too far apart, it caused them to be seen as creepy or uncanny. When we see something with human qualities that isn't trying to accurately emulate the human face, we're more likely to empathize with it and find appeal in it. Pixar takes great advantage of this with their character designs to create memorable and appealing characters with advanced CGI that doesn't even come close to trying to emulate photorealism, and instead leans heavily on stylized expressions and faces. Again, we are incredibly perceptive when it comes to spotting a CGI face that looks wrong. Take for instance this scene in Blade Trinity. I bet something looks pretty off about this, right? That's because Wesley Snipes isn't actually blinking in this scene. Due to some turmoil on the set, Snipes refused to open his eyes during the shooting of this scene, so the director had the production team add CGI eyes overlaid onto Snipes' face. Something that subtle is very obviously wrong to us. Another even more apparent example in video games. Mass Effect Andromeda, released just this year, was plagued by a rough development cycle and animation bugs that left characters' faces looking like this at release. Again, we are firmly in the Uncanny Valley. It's not impossible to live on the other side of the valley with photorealistic faces, but it is so easy to fail and slip into the uncanny. In my opinion, Horizon Zero Dawn, also released this year, is the closest that games have yet come to bringing lifelike faces out of the valley into appealing territory, but there's still a fair amount of criticism leveled against the game and its characters. We are a far cry from PS2 CGI, where the disconnect was maybe at its worst, but we aren't quite there yet with photorealistic graphics either. In the meantime, some of the best in the business are working on creating appealing, lifelike faces, and hey, we shouldn't forget that there's always the leftmost side of the valley, full of charming, stylized characters to enjoy as well.
Do you want to destroy humans? Please say no.
Okay, I will destroy humans.
That's going to do it for this episode of Tiny Voices. There's not going to be an episode on the 19th because I get back from Vegas on Tuesday, and that leaves me too little time to prep. And there also won't be an episode on August 2nd because I'll be getting back from Florida on that Wednesday. And I'll remind you of that one in the next episode, but remember that we're off next week. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take it easy. Have a good one.